All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Millennials Are Old podcast. And you know what, Brian? I've been thinking, right? It's been about, God, almost a year since I've seen you, right? But you know what? I'm fucking pissed off at you, dude, because you know what? I'm your biggest motherfucking fan. I tried visiting you a few months ago and, I knocked on your door and you didn't fucking respond. I sent you so many fucking letters, dude. What the fuck?
Look, I've told you before, we can do the podcast together. We can work on content. We can review media and CDs and millennial touchstones. But anything beyond that, and I'm sorry, it's crossing some boundaries that I'm really not ready for. I've got a lot going on. I've got a very busy schedule. I've got a lot of people who are coming to my house at all hours of the night trying to see me. Taylor, you need to understand. It's just, there's got to be sort of a separation here. I know that you have sort of developed this parasocial relationship with me, but it can't extend beyond the show.
You know what? That's what you fucking think. But I watched a movie the other day, a Fred Durst movie starring John Travolta that showed me exactly what the fuck I should do with people like you. Because I've been a fan of yours for fucking years. I bought all of your souvenirs. I went on eBay and I bought all your shit and I just wanted fucking autograph. Just wanted a fucking autograph.
Now I kind of feel like a jerk, Taylor. You know what? Send me your favorite little Brian doll, your favorite little plushie you have of me, and we'll see what I can do if I have time, if I don't forget.
Well, Brian, that's not good enough. If you really want to make it up to me, we're going to watch this piece of shit Fred Durst movie together. So, you know what? This week, we're going to be reviewing The Fanatic. But before we get into our review this week, Brian, let's bring back our segment, Cringe Generational Cringe Millennial Moment of the Week.
Generational moment of when? The week? Week?
Woo! Yeah! All right, and, we're going to be talking about this movie, which is a deeply unpleasant movie.
It's the worst thing you've ever made me experience for the show, Taylor. Yes!
No,
I
love that. It is a character piece that you just have to watch it to believe it, audience. Genuinely. This movie is, insane that it exists in every single way.
The thing is, listener, you might read the premise of this film, and you'll guess all of the plot points. You will guess all of the actual things that happen, because it's a very predictable film in that way, but you will not predict just how fucked the tone of it is, the tenor of it, and the implications of it are staggeringly bleak.
100%. So to offset
that's
the
neither
bleakness...
here nor there. I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, it's all good. But to offset the bleakness of this film, I do want to talk about something that is not really bleak and something that actually makes you and I very hopeful. And even though he is a millennial, he's not really that cringe. Maybe a little bit, maybe 5%, but he's 95% based. Brian, I want to talk about, because it happened a few weeks ago as of recording, I think we should finally talk about Zohran Mamdani. Do you think that's a good idea, Brian?
Yes, that's perfect.
Hell yeah. So Zohran Mamdani is the current Democratic candidate for the mayor race of New York City. He won a pretty upset mayoral primary that happened just a couple weeks ago. He beat the former governor of New York, which is crazy to think about. And a 33-year-old man, by the way, just a couple weeks older than you, Brian. That's crazy.
And I think there was some rumblings as we were getting closer to the primary. People were saying, Mamdani, he might win. He might win the primary. He might take it. I do think people are rightfully pretty shocked by how resoundingly he took it, though. I think as it got closer, I was actually pretty skeptical of him initially, and I wasn't following him that closely. As it got closer, I was like, oh, he might actually do this. When it happened, and it happened so quickly, I felt pretty heartened by that. I think it's not just that he won, it's the swiftness that he won it with, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, he won the largest plurality on the actual election night that Tuesday, and then the week later he won an outright majority of 56% to 44% in the ranked choice. So it was a pretty resounding success. Definitely the second night, but even the first night it was really a lot. So in fact, the only boroughs that Andrew Cuomo won were Staten Island and the Bronx, which Staten Island was pretty much going to be a guarantee, and it's also the least populous borough, so who gives a shit? And the Bronx was another one that was probably going to be in the bag for him anyways. But the fact that he won Manhattan, Queens, and Brooklyn is crazy. I would have never guessed that in a million years, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think anyone on really any side of this predicted that.
No, yeah, it was an absolute resounding success. And we will definitely get more into him as the election draws closer, because he is, I would say, maybe the most important millennial currently in our electoral process outside of maybe J.D. Vance. But even then, it's just because he's the most powerful. So him and J.D. Vance are the two most important millennials in politics right now, to be honest.
As far as his influence on how the future of electoral politics in the U.S. shape up, I mean, it's Mamdani. I'm sure anyone listening to this knows this is, a pretty pivotal moment. Like, if he can win this in such a populous state, like, yeah, you can say populous city, rather. You can say, yeah, it's one major city. It's not, it doesn't account for all of these pockets of the country that are maybe, like, less blue or whatever, which I don't really agree with anyways. We're going to be hearing that. I think if you can prove to Democrats, that's the thought, right? Is you can prove to Democrats that a more progressive candidate can win, maybe they'll be more inclined to work with Democratic Socialists in the future. I'm pretty skeptical of that myself, but nevertheless, I still absolutely support Mamdani. You have to support whoever you have, and I do think that the things he's aspiring to do are remarkable. The public transit expansions, the idea of like city-owned grocery stores, which really shouldn't be such a crazy idea, but of course is to most people in the US, are pretty incredible things for a politician to be saying who is running for mayor of such a large city. And I'm skeptical of how much the party will side with him if he does get the nomination. I'm skeptical of how much he'll, of course, be allowed to do if he wins. And everyone listening to this knows you have to support him, right? There just isn't a whole lot of other options right now,
Yeah, who the fuck are you going to support? Fucking Andrew Cuomo, the guy who killed tens of thousands of elderly people and was a sex pest? Or Eric Adams, who took tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars from the Turkish government? Or Curtis Sliwa, who literally runs a fascist gang, who is the Republican nominee for mayor of New York City? A guy who has bragged on TV and has done actual, like, racist attacks on Fox News to immigrants before. Like, those are the other three candidates here. You have to support Zohran. I'm sorry. If you are a liberal or leftist, even if you are a, like, liberal Zionist, you have to support Zohran. Otherwise, you are a monster. I'm sorry.
Like, there are practical reasons. Full disclosure, I'm at this point pretty skeptical of, like, any sort of attempt to work within the Democratic Party. Having watched, I think, how thoroughly, like, Sanders and AOC, who I don't, like, hate, particularly Sanders. It's not like I hate him now or whatever. I'm still very proud to have campaigned for him. Still like to see him talk. It still makes me feel good that he's out there doing what he feels like he needs to. When you see how much those people have been how they were kind of humiliated and then kind of folded up into the party, it does make me think, like, I wonder how much you can do working within the party. But again, that's not Mamdani's fault. This is what he can do where he's at right now. There are practical things he can do if he wins, and people will tell you there aren't. There are things that he can implement that at the very least will push back against, like, this, like, reactionary fervor that's beating down on all of us. He won't be able to, like, socialize the city, and that's one of the criticisms you'll see from, like, moderate Democrats of him, but he won't, because you can't do that under electoralism. But he's a candidate with an actionable plan to push back against, God, I hate the phrase, like, Trumpism, right? I just don't know what else to call it. This weird kind of, like, cult-like mutation of the neocon thing that we're seeing that is, like, these early waves of fascism coming in. He's the only person with an actionable plan to fight that.
Exactly, 100%. And Brian, speaking of people who would very much benefit from a Mamdani-like social democratic/democratic socialist plan, let's get into this movie here, because the main character of this movie would not have turned out this way if we lived in a functioning, like, welfare state. Let's be real here.
Yeah, where he could just have a normal fucking assembly line job, or he, like, weaved baskets or whatever and just watched movies at night.
Exactly. So without further ado, let's get into the details of The Fanatic. So it came out in 2019, and the first trivia fact I have here is that this film is dedicated to the actor Bill Paxton, whose son James Paxton portrays the character Slim in this movie. Now, we just watched a Bill Paxton movie a few weeks ago, Nightcrawler. And Brian, would you say this is better or worse than Nightcrawler?
It's worse. Okay, here's the thing. In as much as there is a comparison to this and Nightcrawler, they're both about, like, horror, thriller, pitch black comedies about psychopaths, right? But Nightcrawler, like, is funny at points. Like, it makes that work somehow.
Intentionally funny, unlike this movie that is unintentionally funny.
Yeah, and there are times when I think it's trying to be funny. It's just it's such a horrible feeling to watch this film. It's such an ugly world.
It's an ugly, depraved world full of monsters, for the most part.
Yeah.
And this movie is rated R. It was directed by Fred motherfucking Durst, of course, the current and always been vocalist of Limp Bizkit, one of my favorite bands. And the next trivia fact I have here, friend of the pod, 100%. And the next trivia fact I have here is the movie is loosely based on a real event in director Fred Durst's life in which a fan of the band Limp Bizkit stalked him. And apparently Moose's dress was the way the stalker in this movie dressed, which is interesting. Now, obviously, I don't know the full details of that because years ago, just for real quick context, years ago, ago, I used to do a podcast, a Nick Cage podcast, and we had a little mini side bracket about Fred Durst. And this was one of my suggestions for the bracket that we had. And I can tell you what, I found a panel on YouTube. It was like an hour long where they discussed it was Fred, John Travolta, the girl, not the girlfriend, but the woman who's the friend of Moose. Yeah, basically. And they talked about this movie pretty oh, and of course Devon Sawa too, where they talked all these details, and I just can't find it on YouTube. It might have gotten taken down. Maybe they thought it was fucking embarrassing. I have no the fuck idea.
Is this movie embarrassing?
Yeah. Well, Brian, another fun fact that I did not include in the trivia here, this movie was, I'll save that one real quick, but this movie is the reason, along with the death of his wife, which happened, I think, pretty shortly afterwards, made John Travolta retire for a while.
God, this movie makes me feel so bad, Taylor. Everything about it.
It is like, once again, a descent into depravity. That's what this movie is. Even more so than Nightcrawler, because it feels grosser.
It's so nasty. Even the scenes in the movie that shouldn't be like that, it just feels so...
No, it's a lot. It's totally a lot. And the screenplay was by Dave Beckerman and Fred Durst. The story was by Fred Durst as well. It was produced by Daniel Grodnick, Oscar General, and Bill Kenwright. And, of course, once again, as I mentioned, Fred Durst is the vocalist of Limp Bizkit. And he's also directed a few other movies than this. He directed The Education of Charlie Banks, which is actually a pretty solid movie. I wouldn't say amazing, but, it's good. It's certainly good. And he also directed a movie called The Long Shots, which is a Keke Palmer and Ice Cube, sports movie.
I've never seen The Long Shots, but I have heard of it. Did he, go to film school or something, too, Durst?
No, I don't believe so, but the first things he ever directed were music videos. In fact, I think the first music video I ever did was the Falling Away From Me music video by Korn, I believe, but I could be wrong about
that's right.
That.
He did that.
He did direct that music video, though. I know that for a fact he did direct that music video, but I'm not sure if it was the first one. And, of course, he was also one of the vice presidents of Interscope Records back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So he has a lot of, production, film production, and music production experience, which, he did carry over on movies like The Education of Charlie Banks and The Long Shots, which are two, solid movies. They're two very competent to even, I would argue, good movies. Where Fred went wrong here, I don't really know, but he failed pretty bad here. This is a pretty infamously bad movie. People have made fun of this movie for years since it came out.
Well, it's certainly, it's perfectly serviceable on the technical end, right? All of the technical things in this film are fine.
No, absolutely. The cinematography is really good. I think one of the cinematographers in this movie was the lead cinematographer for, I think, The Truman Show or something. So there's, clearly some expertise here. You know what I mean? But it just didn't come together. And I have a few people to blame, and we'll certainly get into that in the synopsis, but I do want to hold off on that real quick. And, the people that I mentioned who are also credited for producers and stuff, they didn't really produce anything interesting, so I'm not even going to include them. And this movie's about 89 minutes long. About 10 minutes of it is just credits, which is hilarious. And this movie had an estimated budget of $18 million from one source that I found, and it grossed $3,153 at the box office.
How does that even happen?
I found one person who I know for a fact actually bought a ticket to this movie, who is Chris Stuckman, the YouTube reviewer. But that's the only person I've ever found who has had a verified ticket to see The Fanatic. The only person.
It's hard for me to even conceive of that for a movie starring John Travolta.
And fun fact, this was the worst movie opening of John Travolta's career, which I don't know how it could get much worse than that, but still. And also, this was the first movie to be distributed through Redbox, specifically.
That is a millennial subject. They were really trying to adjust when they found that their little niche was not going to transition well into the streaming era. Yeah, they were really trying to move towards something else.
Yeah, exactly. And on Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has a 15% critic score and a 32% audience score. So another big dud with critics and audiences. To be honest, I'm even surprised it's 15%. Because Gotti got a 0%. And this is definitely, I would say, on the same level as Gotti, I would say.
I haven't seen Gotti. I would assume that this is better.
Maybe 10% better. 15% better.
Well, my logic is that this is not supposed to be a biopic, right? It's not supposed to reflect a historical moment.
That is true. That is a really good point. Whereas Gotti was supposed to be, and it failed pretty miserably at that, obviously.
And isn't it very self-consciously kind of supposed to be like a Scorsese type? It's kind of like when the guys who missed the point of Goodfellas try to make Goodfellas.
Yep, just like Boondock Saints, like that fucking idiot who made Boondock Saints.
That guy I think the Nepo baby thing is a little overblown and people use that phrase too much, but that guy has to be a Nepo baby.
I think he was just like a stupid bartender or something. Like, and to be fair, not to criticize bartenders, but I think he was just like a dumbass, like Boston Mick bartender. I'm pretty sure. I think that's all he was.
Now it makes me feel like I have to try to respect the movie more for that. Like, oh, this is just pure hot couch guy.
I mean, it is. It is the
the type of guy that made it is the type of guy who loves the movie.
Yeah. And then, so the details are over, so let's get into the synopsis here. So, Moose, played by John Travolta, and his name's literally Moose in the movie. And the trivia fact that I had here that I was really saving, Brian, for the bombshell here. So the first trivia fact I have here for the synopsis is, and this is all true, Brian, I confirmed this on the panel years ago that I found. John Travolta took the role of Moose as a tribute to his son, Jet, who passed away in 2009. Horrible. So here's the thing, Brian. So Jet Travolta was his son. He died at the age of 16 in the Bahamas. He died of, I believe, a seizure. He had like epilepsy, he was autistic, and he had like a heart condition. And the thing is, though, obviously this portrayal of his autistic son is like gross already, right? But on top of that, you know, he's a Scientologist. Scientologists, they don't believe in psychiatry. They don't believe in psychology.
Yeah.
They really don't believe in any kind of mental health treatment, especially if it involves psychiatric medication, right? So this is a man who saw his autistic son die in front of him, and his like cult brainwashing taught him that what he existed as a mentally disabled, mentally challenged individual wasn't really real. It was all made up of like thetans from billions of years ago that were passed on by Lord Xenu or whatever the fuck, right? So this man saw this without any actual like educated context of what he saw his son. He thought, oh, my son's probably faking it or being a loser or whatever, so I'm just gonna make fun of him in a movie.
Yeah, well, okay, you actually had a while ago, like way before we planned to do this episode, told me about this, so that was in the back of my mind, but it isn't until you see the full movie that you realize how heinous that is. Because I just want to say, this character makes me so sad. They bum me out so much. And it's not because of the existence of autistic people. It's not even, okay, it is like an exaggerated, like, it's not like your typical autistic person. It's not even necessarily at the beginning of the film, like Travolta's portrayal, because like there are people like Moose at the beginning of this movie. Because you can sense that, right? You can sense in Travolta's performance that he doesn't have a respect for people with this disorder. Maybe that's too harsh because his son had it, but that's how it feels. It doesn't feel like it's trying to capture any nuance of their existence. Because, like, there are people who exhibit some of the symptoms the character Moose has, but they also have, like, an inner life, right? They experience a range of emotions. Whereas, like, this movie, and particularly through Travolta's performance, it's kind of like autistic people are these single-minded robots that you can't reason with, right?
Well, and that's the thing, though, Brian. You talked about how, you know, he may or may not have respect, but you got to remember, he is a committed Scientologist.
Yeah.
There's no way he could have respect for people with, cognitive delays
I'm
or
sure
cognitive declines.
I'm sure he does it, but I'm trying to kind of, like,
give him a little bit of a benefit
in his head, and it's his son that died.
No, totally. And I would, you know, once again, when we get into synopsis here and, like, how depraved this movie gets in this portrayal of this autistic, mentally challenged individual, but, like, his Scientology, Travolta Scientology, is so prominent in this portrayal. It's crazy.
Yeah, like, especially as it goes on, yeah.
But yeah, he is, once again, a man with autism who works as a street performer on Hollywood Boulevard. An avid film buff, Moose fills his apartment with memorabilia from various movies, including those of cult movie star Hunter Dunbar, played by Devon Sawa. Now, Devon Sawa, of course, most famously to millennials, is the lead guy in Final Destination. He was Casper the Friendly Ghost in the 90s Casper movie. And, most famously, Stan from the Stan music video.
That is a true millennial icon.
100%.
Great music video, great song, great moment in my life was seeing that video as a small child. Truly, I mean, this is like a corny thing to talk about how much the Marshall Mathers LP and the Stan music video impacted you as a kid, but truly a journey for me as like an 8-year-old kid or whatever, seeing that music video late at night on MTV.
No, absolutely. And in this movie, he is the one that gets stalked, and somebody has a parasocial obsession with him.
He gets staned.
Yeah, I'm sure Fred Durst did that very unintentionally.
Yeah, he doesn't have any sort of knowledge or history with Eminem. They have never been frenemies or had any weird tit for tats and any sort. There's no sort of complicated.
Nobody has sloppy seconds. Nothing.
Yeah, there's no will they, won't they energy between Eminem and Fred Durst.
Honestly, I think they should just, like, fuck. Like, today.
25 years later, they bury the hatchet. You know, we've been doing this dance for a long time.
They bury the hatchet, and they both bury their dicks in each other's asses.
Surprisingly, Fred is the top, which you might not have expected back in the 2000s.
Well, Brian, from that shitty fucking James Franco movie, The Interview, Eminem admitted he was gay. So you know what? Who knows?
Oh, that's
Do you
right.
remember that piece of shit?
No, that's the only good scene in that movie. I hate that fucking movie. I think we talked about it last week on the Order Number 27 episode, didn't we?
I think so, yes. I think we did,
must
yes.
No, the Eminem scene, we'll move past Eminem and whatever. But that's the only good scene in The Interview, is when Eminem's in it.
It is like legitimately a good scene. I actually rewatched that scene specifically again maybe a couple weeks ago. I'm like, damn, Eminem's a good actor.
Hey, likewise. Yeah, he's funny. Funny people as well.
Oh, yes. And that is a movie I know you've definitely recommended to me. Although I've never watched it. Although I do know that that movie was the reason that Adam Sandler wasn't in Inglourious Bastards. Because he was going to be in Inglourious Bastards. He was going to be the Bear Jew.
Yeah, that's true. That would have been so fucking good, too. Okay, we got to move on. But no, Adam as the Bear Jew would have been great.
Yeah. When Moose finally gets an opportunity to meet him and get an autograph, he loses his chance when Dunbar's ex-wife abruptly arrives and starts an argument. As Dunbar storms away, Moose follows him begging for an autograph, only for a frustrated Dunbar to rudely accost him.
In this first act of the movie, and I understand that this is not necessary and that I'm giving this character too much credit, I like Moose so much. I feel so bad for him. I genuinely just want to see a movie of first act Moose going on adventures around Hollywood and seeing movie memorabilia. And also, I'm aware that it's like a caricature and a bad portrayal of autistic people. I feel so bad for this character, and I so badly want him to get his stupid fucking autograph. There's something about this character, and there's other characters like this in media since my childhood, I think, that really hits me, and I'm just like, just give him his fucking autograph, please. It means so much to him. Come on, man. That colors this whole movie for me. I'm like, this is so horrible to see this.
I totally agree with that point. Like, I would say for the first, I would say third to maybe even half, like, Moose is a sympathetic character, at least somewhat, at the very least. He's a little too obsessive, but he's very clearly, once again, he's mentally challenged, he's socially challenged, he's developmentally delayed, whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? Learning disability, whatever the fuck. He's got something going on that would make him not as culpable for his actions as others. Not culpable, but definitely not as culpable as some others, right? But the thing is, though, too, right, the Hunter Dunbar thing specifically, so, and once again, he is a cult horror movie actor in this movie, right? Those type of people, they love their fans. They don't act like Hunter Dunbar does. Hunter Dunbar acts like a fucking prima donna, like A-list, like shithead. But like this movie is trying to make him be like fucking Bruce Campbell or something, as you mentioned. Well, Bruce Campbell would never talk to his fans like that. He just wouldn't.
No, he's so famously like, you know what I mean? It's also like, I think you can't be like that if you're a B-movie horror star. And I say this, I like have a parasocial relationship with Bruce Campbell. You know, I've read all of his books, you know, all that shit. I also think you kind of can't be like that in real life if that's kind of your bread and butter. But yeah, he doesn't really act like a star in a movie like that. He kind of acts a little more, you know, like a Tom Cruise or something. At least that's my perception of it. That might be me being ungenerous to Hunter because I feel bad for Moose, I think, at least at first.
No, I agree with you. I think that this is not an accurate portrayal of a B-movie horror actor. Because, like, yeah, once again, he is signing books at, like, some, like, movie memorabilia store. This is not a guy who's a, like, A-list Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt level actor. He just isn't. There's no reason for him to act like this.
The other thing that is important to point out, even though, like I said, I do feel very bad for Moose at this point, is you're right, Taylor. The movie makes clear at this point, right, that he's afraid of getting in trouble for things he does, like sneaking into a party or bothering someone. So he is aware when he's doing things that, like, would not be acceptable to most people.
Yes, he does have some moral culpability. He, once again, does know the difference between right and wrong, which we will certainly get to later on in the movie. So, like, if he were to be prosecuted for things that he does later in the movie, he would not be, like, you know, put away in an insane asylum. He would go to regular prison. Like, he is somebody who, even though he doesn't have a job necessarily.
To think about.
No, it does. But that's the thing, though. Once we get to the end, like, and we want to be clear, this is not an accurate portrayal of autistic people at all.
No.
Like, the things that he does in this movie, Moose would be a victim of these things. He would not be perpetrating these things.
Yeah,
let's be very clear.
You know, we're not there yet. But the movie gets pretty heinous.
No, it really fucking does. And we will say that once again, but this movie, once again, we talked about the descent into depravity. This movie is really depraved.
It's fucking nasty.
It is. Sometime later, Moose's friend, a young paparazzi named Leah, played by Anna Golja, shows Moose a mobile app that publishes the home addresses of famous celebrities, including Dunbar. Now, actually enough, there's a little thing, I'm sure you just blink and you miss it, but she's like swiping through, and there's like famous characters' names that she's swiping through on the app. And one of them, Brian, is Tyler Durden, of course, from Fight Club. And fun fact, Brian, speaking of Tyler Durden and Fight Club, but Fred Durst was an unlockable character in the Fight Club video game.
There's a Fight Club video game?
Yes, it is like a Mortal Kombat, like pre-X-ray Mortal Kombat, where you like break people's bones and that's how you win. And Fred Durst is the unlockable character in that game.
That's insane. That is the most of its time thing you possibly could have said.
It's awesome. I've seen so much gameplay footage. It looks like total ass. It looks terrible.
Maybe we gotta play it someday.
We 100% do. Moose goes to Dunbar's house and tries to give him a letter while also begging him for an autograph. Dunbar, fearing for the safety of his young son. And to be clear, he does have a young child around. He's seeing this guy who's now seen him multiple times and is very desperate to be around him. I can understand why he wants to protect his son in this exact moment, to be very clear. I don't think he's necessarily a bad guy for telling him to fuck off in that exact moment.
No.
But a lot of the other ones, it's like, just sign the fucking autograph, man. And if he comes back, just call the police. Like, why have you not gotten the authorities involved in this at all? Like, I just don't understand.
Yeah,
this man has found where you live and he is stalking you.
Developments in the film will prove this not to be the case, but in real life, as much as we can compare this to real life, let's say you have a fan who is acting this way and they're like, let's accept the premise of the movie on its own terms for this, and like who Moose is. Let's assume this person could exist. Probably if you have a weird developmentally arrested like fan like that and the cops talk to them, maybe that'll be the end of it, right? I don't know why that wouldn't occur to Hunter to do.
Yeah, it's so fucking strange. I'm just like, where are the cops? And the cops do show up at the very end, which we'll get into, which is a very dumb scene. But either way, it's like, why are the cops not involved in this at all? I just don't understand. So after that encounter, Moose comes back again and climbs a fence, but is scared off by Dunbar's housekeeper. Despondent, Moose gets into an argument with Leah and then violently attacks Todd, who we have to talk about Todd and his stupid Hollywood Boulevard fucking scam show, because he's just like, he's a hot couch guy with another hot couch guy. He's doing this like stupid, and I don't even necessarily say stupid. It's, you know, it would be impressive to like a high schooler, right? Where he's like stabbing himself in the nose with a nail and he's bleeding everywhere. It's like, look at my parlor trick. And then somebody steals pocket change from the people like who are watching the show or whatever. And also the whole street performer with Moose thing, he dresses up like a British Bobby and he's like, Poppycock, welcome to Hollywood, what dreams are made of. And it's like this really bad English accent, horrible English accent. And he's like practicing in like the fucking like Hollywood Boulevard like public bathroom or something. And the scene where like Todd and the other guy like bully him, it's so ridiculous because it's clear that was like meant for like a high school like bullying scene, but it is a middle-aged, not even middle-aged, an elderly autistic man being bullied by two millennial hot couch guys. It's hilarious. Like, what is this?
It makes me so sad to watch. It makes me...
These guys are like 35 and they're bullying a middle-aged and elderly autistic man. It's ridiculous. It makes no sense.
Well, there's like a black guard we see who like sticks up for Moose throughout the movie, and we're introduced to him here who's like, you gotta stick up for yourself, Moose. And it really, you're right, Taylor. It is like clearly supposed to be analogous to like a high school. Like he'd be like a janitor or like a gym teacher, right?
It's just like, this is so like inappropriate for what this type of scene is. It's so fucking ridiculous. And also like, yeah, the scene where he attacks Todd is really funny because Todd just keeps harassing him like, hey, be my like toady and like rob people for me because you're gonna fucking make me money. And then he like goes up to him and he like chokes Todd, but the like music sting that happens makes me laugh every time because it just looks so ridiculous. And then he's like, I wish Freddy Krueger would chop off your head and it would roll onto the ground and blood would be everywhere.
Would spurt everywhere.
And it would get run over and everybody would watch it. It's so awesome. It's an incredible delivery.
You sound just like Travolta in this movie, yeah.
Oh, I practiced it many times because I just have to get the cadence. But yeah, especially the chop off your head. It's so incredible. He's trying so hard to be menacing, but it just comes across as so juvenile. Because first off, he's like, I want Freddy Krueger to chop off your head.
Yeah. Is this like a Mad TV character?
Yeah, this is Stuart all grown up.
Yeah. I'd say Stuart was probably more menacing.
Yeah, really. Less autistic, too. Well, Stuart was just supposed to be a little boy. I shouldn't say that. I mean, obviously a grown man playing a little boy, but still. That's a little ridiculous. But either way, and also I do want to, before we move on, I do want to talk about some of the earliest lines. Like the very first line, the literal first line that Moose says in this movie is, I can't talk too long. I gotta poo. Why?
Yeah, is this supposed to be funny? Because, like, this is Travolta channeling his dead autistic son. We're introduced to this character by this, like, very childlike buffoonery, right?
Yeah, it's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. And also the line, and we will certainly get into this in a later episode, where Leah's like, you're actually like a maniac. He's like, the original Maniac, not that crappy remake. That's the bad one. The original's good. And like, to be clear, Brian, and I know you've disagreed with, or not disagreed, disbelieve me, but the remake of Maniac is actually really good.
I just hate Shia LaBeouf.
Or you mean Elijah Wood?
Elijah Wood, same guy. I do hate
same.
Elijah Wood too.
But that's the thing, though, Brian, is that you don't actually see Elijah Wood throughout 95% of the movie because it's in first person. I mean, you hear his voice, but you don't see him for 95% of the movie, even though he is the killer.
I mean, I'm
He's
open
the maniac.
to it. I'm open to it. I'm not like closed off to the idea of an interesting Maniac remake. I think that sounds really interesting. It's just, I mean, your contention isn't that it's better than the Lustig Maniac, right? It's that it's good, right?
No, it's very good. I think it's
Yeah.
a great film on its own. It is a remake in a lot of ways because it basically shares pretty much all the same story beats,
Sure.
including the motivations. But he's definitely a differently portrayed character.
Maybe more of a companion piece.
Yes, it is a companion piece that is not competing. So I think that's what makes it worth it. Basically is Maniac
Sure.
Part 2, essentially, if that makes sense.
Sure. I'm open to this.
No, it's honestly a great fucking movie. Well, speaking of movies that aren't great, let's get back into the synopsis of this one. So, Moose returns once again to Dunbar's home and is once again confronted by the housekeeper. Becoming frightened, he pushes her away and inadvertently kills her.
Literally pulls a Lenny from Mice and Men moment here.
Yes, exactly. And it's one of those things where it's basically the longer he goes throughout the movie, the more mentally challenged he becomes. Because he's like, oh, I saw a nosebleed, it was really bad. It's like, first off, you're not that dumb. You're not dumb, okay? You're autistic, but you're not stupid. If you see somebody with, exactly, a bloody nose, they're not breathing, you killed somebody. You know what that was.
That is a good point, Taylor, because at the beginning of this movie, Moose is, he's awkward and he's goofy and he's like a film buff who has bad social skills. But he's like, he seems to have like friends and friendly acquaintances, like people who know him, and he can kind of function, right? He has his little gig dressing up as a constable, getting paid to take photos with people. And it's like the level of intellectual challenge he would have to think that this woman that he has just murdered just has a nosebleed and can hear him as he's talking to her lying on the ground dead is inconsistent to say the least.
It 100% is. And then after murdering somebody, he goes into the house and, like, does all the things in the house that he's wanted to do, like, hang out and fucking, like, play his piano. And he also finds, like, antlers. He's like, look at me, I'm Moosey. And it's like, what the fuck is this? What is this?
That is one of the best parts of the movie. Again, I can't help it. There are times when I find Moose incredibly endearing. He takes these deer antlers and he puts them up to his head and he says, Moose is in the house.
And then Dunbar falls asleep, and then does he stick his finger in his ear and licks it or something? I can't remember the exact thing. And then he takes a picture of him doing the fucking bunny ears and be like, hey, look at me, and he posts it on his social media. Like, dude, come on.
Why would you ever do that? Come on, man.
Well, this movie, I think, is very clearly trying to emulate 1 Hour Photo, the Robin Williams movie. In that movie, though, Robin Williams is, even though he is a sad, pathetic character, but he is somebody who's mentally competent, but he's very lonely, and he just clearly doesn't understand the difference. I mean, he does understand the difference, but he lets his fantasy get in the way. But in this movie, he's just a weirdo. There's no real reason why he's doing this, at all. He's not even letting the fantasy get to his head. He's just a weird guy. That's all.
Yeah.
And then the following day, Dunbar sees Moose on his street and threatens to kill him if he sees him again, and also calls him a stalker. And during the lead-up of that scene, Dunbar's like, hey, son, you want to listen to some badass music? And he plays The Truth from The Unquestionable Truth by Limp Bizkit.
Okay, here we go. I think The Unquestionable Truth Part 1 is one of the best Limp Bizkit records. I think The Truth, and especially The Priest, are two of the best songs they ever fucking did.
100%, I totally agree. And interestingly enough, Brian, the lyrics to The Truth actually relate to this movie. So I think he was doing that on purpose. I genuinely
think that was
believe
intentional?
That. I genuinely do. Because, why would, Fred Durst in 2019, who was on the cusp of a nu metal revival, right, play, a B-side EP from their, kind of nadir era? There's no real reason. He could have did, fucking Nookie, or he could have done, Break Stuff, but he did a song that almost nobody ever heard of from Limp Bizkit. Right. Even Limp Bizkit fans haven't heard of it.
Because for the context of this scene, really, to me, the idea of middle-aged dad showing his kid this cool band from when he was a kid, Limp Bizkit, the song you'd show your kid if you're this guy is Break Stuff, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And also, that's the one that's got Eminem in the music video, so of course.
Yeah.
And then, so after, he finally has a mental break, especially after being called a stalker, that's when, because he was, crying and stuff, and then you hear stalker, and then he just goes fucking nuts.
I hate seeing Moose cry. He's crossed this line, he's a bad guy. Something about this type of character who's, Arrested Development, very sincere, overly enthusiastic, and, just really badly wants, a friend. It is really upsetting to me, even in this bad, shitty movie, this awful portrayal. Seeing this character cry, for some reason, it really upsets me.
No, totally. And especially when he's at home, he's burning all the memorabilia.
I hate it. And I understand this is a bad character, and it's a bad portrayal of people with this condition. I feel so bad for him.
The one funny line from this, though, is Hunter Dunbar. I mean, Mr. Dummy Bar.
That is good. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, I bet Taylor loves this.
Oh, I loved that. It made me laugh so hard because, like, when I was like 5 years old, I had those exact same insults. 100%.
Like, I don't want to waste too much time talking about how this isn't a realistic portrayal of people on the spectrum, but like, I've had quite a few friends who are on the spectrum, and people who, like, I've had like friends who are maybe even shared some common traits with Moose here. They're pretty good at insults. Like, they're pretty clever for the most part if they're like high functioning, like autistic. They're not going to say dummy bar necessarily,
Yeah, it is extremely like elementary school level. It is just ridiculous. Like his mental breakdown is even like very elementary school. Like, this is a nightmare. And he's like, anybody can act in a movie. Anybody can do
You're
that.
You're just a big faker.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, Moose, really? Like, and then, Anna, his friend, comes by. He's like, Moose, what the fuck? I saw your post on social media. Because, by the way, he posted that thing on social media, to be very clear once again, of him like literally breaking into Hunter's house and like taking pictures of him while he's fucking unconscious.
Another thing that that Fred loved writing in here is when Anna confronts Moose, right? Anna, right? She confronts Moose and he says, that's it, Anna. You're blocked off my social media. He keeps saying social media. He doesn't say Facebook or Twitter. He just says, my social media.
It's fucking awesome. And then after that, he breaks into Hunter's fucking house one more time. And that's where I would say easily the most infamous part of this movie actually happens. So he comes in, once again, he ties up Dunbar, and he essentially tortures him for an undetermined amount of time. Like, not actually hurting him, but doing, like, psychological torturing. Like, dressing up as fucking Jason Voorhees and stabbing him in the chest with a fake knife.
He's just playing
water.
With him. You're calling that torture is a little dramatic. Doing little pranks,
Yeah, he's doing pranks, exactly. He's
doing goofs.
Yeah.
You ever heard of a practical joke, Taylor?
Kidnapping celebrity prank gone sexual. And then, he pours water on him and thinking he's gasoline, but it's not gasoline, it's just water. I thought you were an actor. And
he's
then,
all proud of himself because he tricked him. Yeah.
Yeah. But then eventually Dunbar is able to convince him. And, it's through this, like, what is it? Like, imaging? Or I can't remember what the fucking term is. But he's like, you know what, Moose? We're going to be best friends. And we're going to have ice cream. And he's like, strawberry ice cream. I was like, okay, strawberry, not chocolate. Because the whole, like, chocolate thing comes up, like, 3 times in this movie. So it's an incorporation. It's the rule of 3. So in the very first scene, movie memorabilia guy calls him Chocolate Moose. And he's like, no. And I think that's why he, like, answers him pretty curtly throughout that scene.
Yeah.
And then he goes to the party, which we don't really talk about the party, but there's a party where he meets like some other like female celebrity he's like into in regards to work or whatever, a fan of. And he goes up to the bar, he's like, can I get a strawberry milkshake? And he's like, oh, we don't have milkshakes. Like, all right. And then in the final scene, he's like, oh, I want chocolate ice cream. No, strawberry. It's like, all right, fine. So it's the rule of 3s with ice cream here, basically.
He also, the second time, or the first time he breaks into Hunter's house, he goes through
the ice cream, right.
And he says, all that money and no ice cream.
So, but yeah, after that, and then there's like visualization, or I think it was visualization, but either way, he's like, oh, we're going to be best friends or whatever. And then he like uncuffs like one of his hands. He's like, put her there, bud. And he shakes his hand like he headbutts him, and he grabs the gun from above his bed, I guess, like shotgun, and then he shoots off Moose's fingers.
Moose deserves it at this point. I just can't bear to.
And then he also has like a fucking like K-bar knife, probably the same one that fucking Brian Koberger used to murder those students in his like dresser drawer for some reason.
Well, I guess at this point he's been being stalked for a few days.
Okay, so fair enough, I guess. But it's still just a little ridiculous when you're watching it.
Yeah.
And then, he follows him downstairs. He kicks him down the stairs, which, by the way, before the kicking the downstairs scene, that, like, actually pretty impressive cinematography shot where there's, like, the blue light of, like, outside of the darkness of the stairs. He's, like, crawling. Actually, like, a really good, like, cinematography shot there.
Yeah, really nice lighting. Perfectly passable, competently made movie, on the movie-making side of it. It's the artistic choices. Well, it's also the artistic choices and the moral compunction of it are insane.
No, exactly. And then, after blowing off his fingers, he kicks him down the stairs. He shoots shotgun shells at his ears, like deafening him. And then Hunter Dunbar, for some reason, also stabs him in the eye with the K-bar. It's wild. It's crazy. Like, where is this violence come from? I just don't understand. Like, obviously he was torturing him, but like at the same time, like you have horrifically violently attacked this person. Like you could just have shot off his fingers and then called the cops and then like tied him up or something because, he's missing his fingers. That would have been enough. If that was just the case, and then he had kept him there, he would have gotten arrested and nothing would have happened. He would have been able to get away scot-free with, and we'll get into that with the dead woman, because spoilers to the like 3 minutes ahead of the show, but he gets arrested because the fucking gardener claims that he killed the lady, the maid or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so dumb. But that's the thing, though. He could have literally just blew off his fingers, like, tied him up, and then been like, all right, now I'm calling the cops. And then not only would Moose have lived with, frankly, very minimal injuries for what he's done so far, to be honest, for the most part, but then he also would have gotten legally scot-free because Moose killed that lady. He would have went to prison for that, too. I mean, to be fair, Hunter doesn't know that this lady's dead. Which, by the way, what a shit gardener, right? What a shit gardener.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, too.
But yeah, he horribly maims Moose. He gets like the eye stab thing, and like there's blood coming out of his eyes, and you hear the screaming and the yelp. That's like the hardest scene to watch in this whole movie. Like hearing him cry after getting horribly maimed. It's awful. And then also too, Brian, I know I mentioned it on a couple episodes last, but The Last of Us 2, right? People once again call that game profound and the ending profound. That game has the exact same ending as this scene. It's not profound. It just isn't. That game is not profound. Like Hunter Dunbar.
I gotta say, the ending to this film is not great.
Yeah, Hunter Dunbar has like horribly maimed this person. At the very last minute, he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. You can go home. And he lets him go. It's crazy.
Because he feels bad, because that's a horrible thing to do to someone like Moose.
No, it is. Within the last 5 minutes, that Moose aimlessly wanders the streets of Hollywood as passing tourists request to take photos of him, believing his wounds to be realistic prosthetic makeup. And then his friend Leah finds him and is like, oh, I'm going to take you to the doctor or whatever. And then, yeah, you see Hunter Dunbar get arrested for the murder of the maid. And that's the end of the movie.
You know what? Moose, when we meet him, he spends all of his money on that vest that Hunter Dunbar's character wore in his favorite horror movie. And he just wants Hunter to sign it, and he won't sign it. And you know what? This all could have been avoided if he just... Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is that I would have been his enabler friend who shows him how to stalk celebrities with the app. I guess that's what I've learned about myself watching this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, jeez. Before we get to our final thoughts, because I know we're going to have some fucking final thoughts here.
You know who fucking Moose is? He is like someone... Taylor, I don't know how much of this lore you follow, and I certainly don't expect our listeners to. Moose is like someone that Outlaw would befriend so he could boss around.
Oh my God, yes!
He would be like one of Outlaw's lackeys that somehow looks up to Outlaw, who Outlaw treats like shit, like who seem like they're like borderline, like have problems,
Yes. Somebody that even Joey's World Tour would be like, who the fuck is this loser?
Yeah. Do you know about Mike Outlaw? People finding out that he was on a bondage fetish site and then him blaming his friend who seems extremely autistic on it and making him come on stream and say, that was actually me, that wasn't Mike, when it was like clearly Mike.
That's so fucking cool. We need to have Outlaw on the show. That'll be our next.
Oh, we could! Outlaw. We could! Holy shit. Taylor, are you serious?
We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
We'll talk about this later.
But before we get to our final thoughts, let's get into some Amazon reviews. Now, Brian, I found some Amazon reviewers who are Moose level IQ here. These were incredible Amazon reviews because there weren't really that many. There was maybe like a couple dozen, but like everyone was amazing. I had to limit it to only 4 reviews, but there are some incredible Amazon reviewers. And in fact, one person has a complaint irrelevant to the movie that I've never heard of before. I was legitimately shocked when I read the header of this last one here because it's insane. I didn't even know this was a complaint that was allowed to exist on Amazon. It's that ridiculous and stupid. It's hilarious. So our first review here is from Amazon customer who gives us 5 stars. And the head of the review says, all he wanted was an autograph. And the body of the review says, John Travolta is my all-time favorite actor. I have many of his movies and also an album of him singing and a CD of him singing as well. His portrayal of an autistic man that goes all out to meet his favorite movie star had me feeling so sorry for him. And Hunter treats him so badly that if I was there, I would have put Hunter in his place. I would give him some Italian lessons that he would never forget. The ending was sad for both John and Hunter. Now, you're thinking, Italian? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Well, Brian, I went into his Amazon review page, and like half of the reviews are like, I'm Italian, and this product was fantastic. He's not actually Italian. He's like some like fucking Guido Northeast shithead, 100%.
Yeah,
That's what the fuck he is. And I found some funny reviews. So the first one is Bella Italia license plate. Since I'm Italian, I wanted to show off my Mustang GT with my heritage on it. And then another one is he reviews, and I'm not even joking, a tracksuit. A generic tracksuit.
This guy rules. This guy rules.
He also reviews a Christian Slater movie called Mobsters.
Cool guy alert.
I'm a big fan of mafia movies. The actors are perfectionists in their portrayals of the real mafia. Kept me on the edge of my seat. Thumbs up, smiley face.
This guy just watching every C and D tier mobster movie because he's seen the Godfather trilogy like 40 times and he needs something new.
Oh my God. And there's another one. Was it? Oh, he also reviewed a Tyler Perry Medea movie.
Well, that's not very Italian.
Oh, here we are. I got another one. There's another one where it's a music CD of, I guess, hymns or something. We'll be singing this in church. Jesus gets us through everything as long as we follow him and do his will. He also reviewed a
I
Vincent
guess
Price
that
movie.
could be Italian.
He reviewed a Vincent Price like DVD compilation. So this guy rocks. What a cool guy.
All right, this guy's cool. Yeah, I co-signed this guy. Friend of the pod.
And then our next review here is Korak, who gives us 5 stars. And the head of the review says, Travolta tries his wings. Which, okay, I guess. I don't know what the fuck that's in reference to.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, I don't think all these reviewers spoke English. Even if they're American or British, I don't think they speak English, to be honest.
We'll give that a pass, I guess.
Yeah. And the body of their review says, John Travolta had an interesting role in this movie, which allows him to flex his acting chops. And it's like, it really doesn't. His acting chops are pretty bad in this movie. He does a pretty terrible job.
I mean, I think Travolta's reasonably talented sometimes, but this is not a good performance.
This ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. He does a good job doing so. The ending is imaginative, although unexpected. No, it's not. It objectively is not. It is not imaginative at all. It lacks reason. It's a terrible ending. And then the final sentence is, there is a rather violent outcome, but all is good at the end. What?
What? Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
Did you watch the movie?
Yeah. Oh, God. And then our third review here, and this is all one word. I didn't even know you could have a username this long, but this is one word. And their username is Dylan, the dude who reviews so you don't have to and spend a lot of money on a movie that hasn't been reviewed. That was all one word.
Great.
And they give this 5 stars. And the header of the review says, slow down, Travolta. Fantastic performance. And the body of the review says, if you love autograph collecting movie, will interest you more. Really kept my attention. Would watch again. Redbox had it before, was able to physically buy, but had to wait. Support it physically.
You gotta get the physical copy of the Fanatic. It's also
the
awesome
one with no special features on it.
Awesome to be like, I'm watching the Fanatic because I'm a big fan of autograph collecting movies.
If this person has Redbox, they're an American. Why is your grammar and punctuation so bad? Why? Are you illiterate?
Yeah.
If you're illiterate, why are you reviewing movies on the internet? Learn how to read, motherfucker.
Just watch the movie. You don't got to write about it. Let someone else write about it.
Oh, God. And then our last review here, Brian. And once again, this was a criticism that I didn't even know was legally allowed to exist on Amazon. That's how petty this is. James Faust Jr. gives us 3 stars. And the header of the review says, Dear libraries, please unlock your DVDs.
All right.
And the body of the review says, the movie was awesome. The place where I got it from was not. I got it from the library that forgot to unlock the DVD case. If you're, by the way, you are.
Did Moose write this review?
If you're, not you are, you're going to sell DVDs, please unlock them before shipping them. I did destroy the case to get to the disc. The movie works fine, and luckily I have envelopes to put the discs in that I get. That's all I have to say about that.
Oh.
And I also went into this Amazon reviewers review section, Brian, and this guy also rocks, okay? So his first review here I have is from The House on Haunted Hill, the remake, the 1999 remake. And it says, it's one of my favorite movies. And it's like, whose favorite movie is that?
Ooh, yeah, what? Ooh, why?
That's not even that bad of a movie. I think it's fine, but I don't know why that would be anybody's one of their favorite movies. Like, what the fuck?
Maybe the original one.
Yeah, exactly. He also bought a canvas for his dad at one point, and he decided to post a video review where we got to see his really good face. A very, like, as Matt Christman said on a Chapo episode once, Middle European genetic runoff face. That's what we get to see here.
Yeah, I have a perfect visual from that. I know exactly what you mean now.
And he also at one point bought a impeached Tom Wolfe pullover hoodie in the wrong size because he meant to get extra, extra large.
Cool guy. We love him.
And Tom Wolfe is the former governor of Pennsylvania before the current one. You know, the guy who said we don't resolve our differences through political violence when he arrested Luigi, even though he signed bombs to go to fucking Gaza. Like, he literally did that. There's pictures of him doing it. And then also on top of it, he covered up a murder that his friend did. That's neither here nor there, but fuck Josh Shapiro. I'll just say that.
But look, Luigi was out of line. That's not how we deal with people that systematically murder people by denying claims every single day.
I wonder what this Italian Amazon guy thinks of Luigi. Like, if I knew Luigi, I would teach him a thing or two. He's like a bootlicker.
Yeah. But also, maybe he's just like, hey, he's Italian like me.
In this household, Luigi's a hero. Like on that fucking Sopranos episode.
Could go either way, right?
Yeah. Oh, God. But those are our Amazon reviews. Now, Brian, I know we have so many final thoughts, and I want you to go first. So please, what are your final thoughts on this movie?
This movie sucks. It's not even that it's that bad on a technical level. Here's the thing. I was kind of coming into this expecting something like maybe The Room or Troll 2 that was just like bad because it was so weird, kind of engaging. It's horrible. It's a nasty, cynical, dark world. It's kind of trying to be edgy and subversive. You can tell there are attempts at like black comedy here. Does not work. Puts forward ideas about people, with whatever sort of like intellectual challenges or social challenges. Really kept reminding me of that recent RFK Jr. speech where he was talking about how autistic people will never write a poem or play baseball or pay taxes or whatever deranged fucking shit he was saying. And this movie's like that. That is the worldview of this movie. On top of that, it just made me sad. Like, this character makes me sad, man, in an unearned way. It's not like there's anything going on in this movie that pulls those emotions out of me. It's just a cheap, nasty little movie.
No, I pretty much 100% agree with you. And, I did choose this initially as a so bad it's good movie, and not necessarily so bad it's good in the way that The Room or Troll 2 is, right? But I have a theory that when it comes to so bad it's good movies, it is how much the rift is between quality and ambition. And John Travolta is 100%. He is giving his 10 out of 10. He is giving his fucking all. And it's so bad. It is so, cringely, offensively terrible that, he tried so hard and he just ate shit so bad. Honestly, maybe the biggest eating shit performance out of any A-list actor, maybe ever. It's embarrassingly terrible.
I mean, he literally violates Tropic Thunder rule, not to be an epic millennial.
Mm-hmm. He does. You mentioned, obviously, the RFK Jr. thing, and I mentioned this too, obviously, but, if there was a, Trump Goebbels, and obviously Trump Goebbels is fucking, Stephen Miller, but, essentially the public health version of Goebbels, they would make this movie to be you should fear these people. 100%. Yeah. But that's not what autistic people or mentally challenged people are. Moose in real life would be a victim of this violence. He would not be perpetrating this violence. 100%. They make him out to be, once again, he is competent enough to be able to hold down an apartment. He is competent enough to have friends. He's competent enough to have an income. Not a great income, but at least some income. His apartment isn't a total pigsty. It's a livable space.
To be honest, I thought his apartment, as a man-child bachelor millennial, the crowded apartment with all the horror movie memorabilia and posters everywhere, it's pretty cool apartment.
No, exactly. But that's the thing though, is that he's got a pretty cool pad. He's got some friends. He's got ambitions. He is motivated to do certain things. But at the same time, they make him so mentally challenged that this person would be a ward of the state. And you can't have both of those things be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't. You have to have one or the other. Because one of my girlfriends was somebody who was pretty profoundly autistic. But she was still able to do all the things that Moose is able to do. But she wasn't a fucking criminal. There wasn't any of that shit involved. You know what I mean?
Of course.
This is 100%. And when we say this is not an accurate portrayal of an autistic or somebody who is mentally challenged or cognitively delayed, it's just not. It is a horrible portrayal. It is somebody who literally, once again, is a brainwashed cult member who doesn't believe in the very things that this movie is portraying that actually exist. So that's why the portrayal sucks. It's terrible. And you're right, it is mean-spirited. It's cynical. It's a movie that has ambitions to be something bigger than it is and tell a story, but it does it in the most hackneyed, stupid fucking way possible. So this is a fucking terrible movie. Although I would recommend watching it if you want to see just a ridiculously stupid performance. But if you're not looking to watch something really dark and depraved, I would not recommend watching this movie. I really wouldn't.
I mean, if you want to do that, here's what I would say. If your curiosity is such that you need to see what we're talking about, find I'm sure there are compilations of just Travolta's most ridiculous scenes on YouTube, because that's really what you need. You don't need to watch this whole movie.
No, in fact, there is a 5-minute YouTube compilation with stupid epic memes in there or whatever, but just tune that shit out. That's 5 minutes. You just watch a Nick Cage freak out compilation for this movie. That's all you have to do. That's all you have to do to see what the fuck we're talking about.
I would be interested, because of his relevance to old millennials, I'd be interested to discuss Fred Durst's non-musical endeavors more. His filmmaking, his allegiance to Russia, all things that I find very interesting, and I am willing to give a shot and be open to.
And you know what? That's the thing. Real quick before we get to our pluggables and everything, I do have to say, Fred, why are you choosing sides in Eastern European conflicts? Motherfucker, that's where your career renaissance started. You should, be a pan-Slavist, motherfucker. Why are you taking sides, you dipshit? That doesn't make any sense. Poland and the Baltics and, Ukraine, they loved Limp Bizkit before the fucking nu metal revival. They loved that shit. Why are you choosing sides? Just because Russia's the biggest one, you don't have to pick a side, motherfucker. You don't.
It makes him feel like he's got a fucking galaxy brain, though, to have an opinion. That's my theory.
No, exactly. Like, honestly, if the new meta revival had never happened, which inevitably was going to happen because that's how the fucking nostalgia cycle works. It works in 20s. But at the same time, right? Like, if he had just wanted to have a career where all he had to do was play some stupid festival in Kiev or Riga or fucking, Vilnius or whatever, he would have been able to recoup any financial losses. He could have bought a country and still have made his money back if he just played those, plus like Rock'em Ring or Rock'em Park or some shit. They would have been sold out shows for the rest of his life. Why are you choosing sides in this conflict? It makes no sense. Dumb as shit, honestly.
Has he recently given any political takes? What's Fred up to politically?
The last time I saw is that he had bought a Cybertruck and he's like, I love my Cybertruck.
Of course.
Or it was a Tesla or something. It was a Tesla or Cybertruck.
All right, that's all I need to know.
Yeah. He's just basically like a dumb sort of like Joe Rogan-ish, like center.
Yeah, sure. Exactly who you'd expect, yeah.
Exactly. So not the worst, but definitely it's like, Fred, you're smarter than that, man. You really are. All right. But yes, that is our review of the Fanatic. Now let's get into our pluggables. So you can follow me at Carlos Chantor on Twitter.com. And as well, please subscribe and follow us on both of our YouTube and our Spotify channels where we are uploading every episode simultaneously to both platforms. And as well as always, please donate to the Lucifer and the Father campaign. Of course, our good friends Scott, Sean, and Robert are creating a fantastic series. They're, I believe, about a quarter of the way through their funding goal at the moment for Lucifer and the Father, but they need more of our moral and financial support to get their series off the ground. Last episode they were doing pre-production on episodes and I think you said they were shooting in the fall. Is that correct, Brian? Was that the plan?
Yeah, my understanding, if it has not changed, is that their plan is to shoot in, I think, the last week of September, first week of October.
All right, perfect. So just a few months as of recording from this. So, and once again, like I said, donate to the campaign because they're making content already, even though they're only about a quarter of the way through their funding goal. So they are following through on the plan. So you should donate more than ever. And, of course, as we've said, for months and months and months now, if you donate to the campaign, just show us a YouTube comment, send us an email, just show us any proof that you donated, and we will, within reason, about $20-25 match those donations. Because, of course, as always, we want Scott, Sean, and Robert's dreams to become a reality because they're good friends of ours, legitimately.
Yeah, no, they've been really good to us. They've all come on the show, but particularly Scott's come on. He came on for the Terminator episode, and he gave some really good lore and some really good contributions. I'm in pretty regular contact, not with Sean, but with Scott. We message periodically, and anytime there's updates, he does pass them along. I know he's excited about this. We're excited too. Anything that develops, we're going to be right here. We're going to have Scott and probably Sean as well on again, kind of walk us through their plans for the series. So please, by all means, even though it's already happening, donate, and we will match your donation. Because again, it's a pretty ambitious series, and they are independent artists. We talk all the time about how there's no middle class for film or for TV anymore, and how, if you want to do something that's ambitious, but, kind of not something like a Marvel movie that's going to make all this shitload of money in China or whatever, then it's really hard to do, and they're trying to do that. So we want to support that.
Exactly, 100%. And we just talked about an Italian guy on our Amazon review section. So let's talk about another cool-ass motherfucking Italian. So, as always, we've been talking about the Luigi Mangione Defense Fund. Luigi, just like a lot of other people, have been railroaded by the criminal justice system, including, unfortunately, a lot of immigrants, either, undocumented or not in this country. But you know what, Luigi, even though he's not an illegal immigrant and he's somebody who has a certain amount of wealth and privilege, he still needs our help because he is being railroaded by the criminal justice system just as much as almost anybody else who's being made an example of by the current Trump administration. Because as we want to be clear, Luigi is innocent of all charges at this very moment. He did not do it. We're not saying this is a joke. We're not saying this is a bit. There is no substantial evidence against him that implicates him in the murder. There just is not. Otherwise, they would be talking about all the evidence and showing it to the public and confirming to everybody just how guilty he is, but they're not doing that. So they clearly don't have very much evidence.
Yeah,
and
they're
also
playing...
on top of it too, they're playing fucking stupid with it. And then on top of it too, just recently, the Epstein thing has been quote unquote finally closed by the Trump administration. They tried showing evidence too, but their evidence was slapdash. In fact, I'm sure you saw the prison cell footage wasn't even of his cell, and there's multiple minutes missing from it. And on top of it, it was edited from multiple clips used on Adobe Premiere or something. It's so fake. It is so fake.
This is fucking Bush League. This is a fucking kangaroo court. Yes. What is going on here?
And, you may say, well, why bring up Epstein and Luigi? It's at the same jail. That's at the same jail Luigi's at. The Manhattan Secure Detention Facility or whatever the fuck. And like I said, it's one of those things where we need to stick up for Luigi because he is a proletariat. He is a hero, even if he didn't do it. But he is making an example of the federal judiciary and showing how clownish their behavior is. They lost a RICO case against Diddy. They suck.
Pathetic.
They're terrible.
Pathetic.
By the way, did you know, Brian, this is a statistic, that federal RICO cases have only failed 0.4% of the time.
No, everyone was like, Diddy's so fucked. They've got him. They fucking got him. This is it. Because of the fucking federal RICO charge. What the fuck is going on there? And they can spend all this time fucking around with Luigi Mangione, who they don't have any, real evidence against.
Exactly. It is fucking disgusting. So yeah, we need to stick up for Luigi. The current fund has over $1 million at the moment. If you can't donate for whatever reason, that's totally understandable. We live in, very insecure economic times, but just, post about him on social media. If you're a big booty Latina, big booty ebony for Luigi, or big booty Asian or whatever, if you have an ass and you're a woman of color, post about it on the internet. Talk about how cool Luigi is on top of it. Seriously. Yeah. Post an ass pic with a picture of Luigi over it. Do something.
Write him a letter. He loves getting letters. We say it all the time, but it's true. He loves getting letters. Keep it short and write him a nice letter.
Exactly. And then, just as we mentioned with the Lucifer and the Father campaign, if you donate to the Luigi Mangione Defense Fund, just send us an email, send us a YouTube comment just showing us you donated. We will match those donations about $20-25 as well. Because both Brian and I have donated to that campaign. Now, if the show gets huge and 100 people donate, we're going to have to put the kibosh on that. But for now, that is still the promise for that. I promise you that. Until probably the first couple dozen, we will do that for sure, at the very least.
Yeah, there is no plans right now for that to change. If we ever have that kind of money, we'll each make our own independent final big donation.
Exactly. And well, speaking of donations, actually, that leads perfectly into our Patreon because we have a Patreon as well. We have multiple tiers, including the larger tiers, which include donations to both the Luigi Mangione and the Lucifer and the Father campaigns. And I would say our best deal right now is the $5 tier, which is where if you donate or become a patron, but if you become a patron to our Patreon, you will get 2 to 4 episodes a month, 48 hours before everybody else hears it. Because as I always say, the first 48 hours are the most important. You need those first 48 hours to formulate your opinions on what we're talking about. If you don't know anything about the Fanatic and you go to your fucking water cooler at your workplace and you're like, Taylor and Brian talked about the Fanatic, and everyone's like,
you're a fool.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to have 48 hours of time prepared to realize how offensively portrayed this movie is. You need that 48 hours.
Sit with it and decide what you think and build upon our thoughts and do some real analysis and look at the dialectic, and then you can explain it all to your dumbass coworkers.
Exactly. And also, Brian, do you have any pluggables as well?
Yeah, follow us at Millennials Are Old Pod on Instagram. That's all one word, Millennials Are Old Pod, as well as the Facebook page, Millennials Are Old, 3 words. Please follow me if you'd like at JLo Biafra, JLO Biafra. It's a portmanteau. Jennifer Lopez, JLo Biafra. You'll figure it out. That is probably the most reliable way to reach me if you want to harass us, if you want to question our authority on the Fanatic. If you are a fanatic and you would like me to sign something for you, I probably will do it because I'll feel bad for you, as this episode has made abundantly clear. Millennials Are Old Pod or JLo Biafra at Instagram. Those remain the most reliable ways to contact me. And again, just circling back to the Patreon quick, we're 99 episodes in, some pretty expansive stuff going on. We always say the show is going to remain what it is. It's going to be free. We're not going to start paywalling episodes, but we do look at expanding kind of our over and the media we do and the way that we look at things, and if you did want to donate, it might incentivize us to do that.
No, exactly, 100%. And talk about Brian, the Fanatic. I'm hoping that Philly Fanatic comes over tonight and uses that snout for some purposes, if you know what I mean, Brian, because I look at that thing and I go,
you get a big nosebleed when you see it spurting out like Master Roshi.
Yeah. Oh, God. But yes, with all our pluggables out of the way, Brian, you know what? I'm becoming a fanatic, Brian. A fanatic of sleeping. Because you know what, Brian? It's just one of those days where when I go to sleep and I just don't want to wake up. Everything is fucked. It's one of
those days when you want to go to bed.
And, I go to work. I don't have a hot dog because I'm a vegetarian, but I do want to have some chocolate. Not starfish.
You don't like a good tofu dog, Taylor?
Tofu dogs are fine. I think so, too. Sometimes I need to get my shotgun out and shotgun some hot dogs, some veggie dogs, I should say.
Like in the classic Simpsons episode when Maude dies.
Exactly. And then for a side drink, I'm going to drink something very sour. Not a counterfeit drink. I'm doing all the Limp Bizkit song references at this point. This is getting tired as fuck. But, well, speaking of tired, we're tired. So have a good night, everybody. Sleep tight. And don't let Moose tie you up, pretend to kill you, and then you get free, and then you horrifically murder a mentally disabled man. Don't do that, please. You will go to prison if you do that. Even though they killed the maid first, you will go to prison for that.
Yeah, just heed our advice. Don't do that, however much you might want to.
Yeah. Hey, kid, take my advice. You don't want to end up in a big pile of shit. Had to do that one. That was my last Limp Bizkit reference, I promise. Take us to the Matthews Bridge. Yeah. All right, so have a good night, everybody.